Hey, if you're new here, my name's Chris Leddy. I'm the co-founder and lead NLP practitioner at Ledonian Method, and I help high-achieving professionals clear your self-sabotaging patterns and build an identity that matches your goals in 12 weeks. So today we're going to be talking about just that, our 12-week flagship program. Now, it is a system, a three-in-one system, if you like, about how do we go about building your identity so we can match that with your goals and so forth. So number one, we're going to go through, it's a three-in-one system here. So number one, we call this Mind OS, right? So it is your one-to-one identity level interventions. This is really targeting your most damaging, if you like, or your biggest self-sabotaging patterns, where we dismantle that and install new powerful resources, a new set of patterns that serve you at an unconscious level, which is really cool. Number two is we have a skills codex. So part of this is not just us doing one-on-one work and then that's it, right? So just to be clear, you have a one-on-one session every week for 12 weeks, so 12 sessions. Alongside that, what complements this is you're going to learn the practical NLP skills that reshape beliefs, collapse your negative patterns, remove triggers, and so forth, right? Controlling your states. Ultimately, this is the vision, right, for you, is to become your own coach, is to take the power in your hands that you know, okay, I can learn these skills and I can walk through whatever challenges come my way. Number three is what we call our change index. So the change index is, number one, a psychometric test that we developed as our own proprietary system. And that measures three things: your core behavioral emotions, your core behavioral patterns, and your core wounds. Okay, we measure that every 28 days. We also have part of this is, right, we have a mental rehearsal which we developed to teach you how to see yourself achieving the things you want, living the life you want, where we go through a mental rehearsal each day. Okay, so part of the accountability from you is telling us, yep, I did that. And what was the thing, which is what we call the most important behavior, what was the most important action you did towards your outcomes? Okay, a reflective question. So most importantly, right, when we're talking about change work, what we really want to understand and what a lot of people miss is that the problem that you consciously think is the problem is not the problem. It's a symptom. Okay, when we have an emotion, right, a negative emotion, if you like, that comes up, we also have what comes with that is behavioral patterns. So what's that mean, right? Hiding, avoiding, blaming, complaining, right? Retreating, withdrawing, stonewalling. These behavioral patterns are compensative behaviors to protect you from a core pattern, right? The patterns within us are trying to protect us. The delivery, though, is not helping us. If we are trying to get X and we keep getting Y, then your problem's internal, not external, right? We say here, internal first, external last. You must understand that. Now, the next problem is, well, how do you change the internal, right? So we have, obviously we do the one-on-one work with you and what we call the skills codex. So going into this skills course in a little bit more detail, and this is really describing the method, right? The method that we go about change work. So number one, right? The skills codex is just, this tool here is just to help orientate you when you're doing your own self-coaching. Okay, so the skills course is going to walk you through 13 skills to learn, and that becomes the basis of self-coaching for you. All right, so let's just look at this as the process you go through in your skills course. So you're going to define your ideals. What that means is we're understanding your unconscious, right, values and how they're expressed across your life. and we go through, this is our mental rehearsal. So this sets the foundation for your mental rehearsal. And then how we measure, that's your 10, right? And then what we do is we measure where you currently at in life, in those areas, right? 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 5 out of 10, so forth. Okay? Next, we look at what is the number one outcome that's going to get you closer to those ideals. That's what we focus on, right? That's what your daily focus is. How can I get that number one outcome? All right. So as we said, we got our mental rehearsal. You're doing this daily. It's like a 10-minute exercise, right? It's like your compass. You're setting your unconscious to what you ideally want in life. Next, you're going to learn these skills, right? Your skills of behavior change, aligning your actions, removing triggers, and so forth. Okay? And then finally, as you go through this, you're going to learn how to identify and resolve core wounds, master patterns at the highest leverage point. Okay? So I want to just talk to you a little bit about identity, right? So Ledonian Method, in essence, is this. It's your identity is built like a house. You grow up haphazardly building a house, i.e. your identity, from other people, the people you modeled from, and that doesn't work so well. Okay? So how do we actually reset this and set the right foundations? Number one is trust. If you do not have internal trust, internal safety, you are going to struggle. You will hesitate to make decisions. You'll hesitate to put yourself out there. You'll feel like you need to hide, right? You'll feel like, I don't feel safe to move forward. And that then flows into the next area, right? Personal power, self-expression. This is about you becoming unapologetic. Stop apologizing for who you are as a person. Right, so you can see the emotions, negative emotions. These are your indicators. Shame. Shame is hiding. I don't want to show who I am. I'm not meeting standards, right, that are other people's standards. Guilt is you're not meeting your own standards. Okay, so we need to get these areas, personal power, self-expression, your ability to have boundaries, your ability to say, no, I don't want to do that, and not feel like you're hurting somebody, right? When you're putting up boundaries, and just what do you want in life, right? This is really what that comes down to. Number 3 is execution. Execution. If you don't trust yourself, you don't have the personal power, right? You're not going to execute very well. And so this is where people grow these wounds of, I'm a bad person, I'm defective, something's wrong with me, like I'm not good enough. That's really orange. It's not that I'm not good enough, it's I'm not a good person, right? I'm bad, something's wrong. It's because you're not able to execute and you've got these core patterns that are damaging you, right? You're not able to execute. So it's about having that internal integrity of, instead of looking at life in black and white ways, right? I'm good, I'm bad, it's right, it's wrong, I'm a failure, I'm a success, right? It's having more flexibility and being more kind in that area internally. Next, we move to growth and achievement, right? And this is where people want to start. This is where a lot of the personal development, self-help stuff is all about this. Grow and achieve, and everything's about this. But if you don't have these foundations set, trust, power, execution, growth is going to be haphazard. It's going to collapse on itself. You've met people and you've experienced this, I've experienced this, where you're trying to force growth and you just cycle back down. You collapse, you fall backwards. Okay? So really the wounds around this area is like, I'm not good enough, right? I don't matter. What I do is not significant. These are the patterns that are hindering you in this area. Next is authenticity and meaning, right? It's being seen, not and where you go wrong is you want to be seen by others, but what you're not doing is seeing who you really are. What's special about you? What's unique about you? And what's your purpose and meaning? And this is really what is the glue that ties this all together. So this is the architecture of a healthy, self-sustaining identity. Each level builds on the other. We don't ever try and rush this, right? And go to growth and go up here. We want to get the purple, we call it, these are all color-coded. So trust is purple, right? Red is power. So we want to work and make sure these foundations are set first. Okay, very important. As we talked about, the psychometric testing measures 3 domains: emotions, behavioral patterns, and core wounds. We do this every 28 days. It's dynamic, so it's not the same questions every 28 days. We measure things in a specific way. And I don't need to explain that. So this just gives us and you, right, a clear picture of where to work and where the change is happening and how we progress. Okay, which is really awesome. So psychometric testing, so we've done that. All right, I think we're pretty... I'll just give you an example, right, of these breakthroughs people have had as they're just reflecting after the session. And I'll read this one here. I think it's a really good one. So this was around performance and mistakes. I realized that before, making mistakes felt really heavy for me, especially when performing. I always believed I was a leader, but I had this belief that if I was a leader, I couldn't make real mistakes, right? So this is that perfectionism, right? The execution area, right? That blue area. Maybe small ones, but not big ones. That belief was creating a lot of pressure. Doing the NLP work with you, something really clicked. I saw that mistakes are actually part of being successful, not something that disqualifies me. So we have competing realities, right? Oh, I can't make mistakes, but I want to succeed. Well, how does that actually work? If you don't make mistakes, how are you going to succeed, right? So where was I at? So the more willing I'm to make mistakes, learn from them, and keep going, the more successful I can become, right? The epiphany. The shift alone felt really freeing. It also hit me that what I've been comparing I've been comparing unfairly to my mentor, who's put in over 30 years of countless hours into their craft, and I'm just learning, right? And expecting myself to perform at the same level. So this is that blue system, right? Execution, I'm expecting myself to be here, right? But we see things black and white. We're not seeing things accurately. So seeing that clearly released the pressure. Since that realization, I feel a lot lighter around performance, and I'm way more willing just to show up, learn, and improve, instead of beating myself up to being perfect, right? So again, the problem is existing in that blue system, right? Perfection, I can't make mistakes, it's right and wrong, so forth, okay? Another really key thing is just to show you how this works in terms of unconscious, right? Let's see. Where's a good one? I'll go down the bottom. I think there was a really... Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, this is a big one, right? So this is about significance, right? So I feel so important in my work, but not in my personal life. So this memory came up when I was calling my dad, when I was genuinely excited. I was making solid 6-figure income. I have no debt. I was investing, literally doing everything he'd always told me, and he didn't even congratulate me. He was so consumed in his own life that it barely registered. That really hurt me, right? More than I admitted. So this is the problem, right? I'm not feeling like I'm getting that significance from a certain person. So it's external, which is always going to be difficult, right? People don't always meet the needs. So what's underneath? Then I saw a pattern hadn't been willing to look at. I've been seeking friendships where I add value, quietly hope for praise in return, right? It's all relying on external. And while part of me hated it, another part of me felt important. So we have a dichotomy here. I get significance from like being important to people, adding value, but then I'm not getting it in return, so I'm not feeling validated. That conflict was brutal. I was needed, and that made me feel important. The real mind F is that I feel deeply important in my work and I don't need praise for it at all, right? What's going on? So why am I trying to fix everyone else in my personal life? That led straight back to a childhood memory with my dad. I fixed a wheel on a bike he couldn't fix, and instead of being proud, he was annoyed. Then you said, so you're fixing everyone's wheel and waiting for the praise you never got from your dad. Boom. That was the breakthrough, right? Collapsing that reality. I don't actually feel important unless I'm adding value. And when you said you're not important only when you add value, it was shocking. No one had ever said that to me out loud before. Even though it was the story I'd been living inside my head for years, hearing it spoken made it sound so stupid. Honestly. I remember this is so funny. So thank you for being blunt. My response was, well, of course I'm important. Why would you say that? You know, and now I genuinely can't see how I could stay angry at people I once felt were using me. The real shift is that I can finally see I'm important without having to add value. I just am. Now, this is the unconscious, right? Sticking. Well, I can't explain it. I just am. I just know, right? And that's the key. It feels almost silly realizing how long I believed I needed to do something to be important. Such a massive shift. Thank you so much. So this is the type of work we're doing, right? We go through, read all these wins, and there's, like I said, there's tons of reviews here. But this is really the work. This is for people who want to deep dive, uncover the things that are stopping them and resolve them and move on with your life. Go out there and get what you want. Instead of doing all these courses, all these gurus, all this stuff, this is going to teach you how to get what you want, how to become your own coach, and ultimately put that power in your hands. So if this interests you, we'd love to work with you. Fill out the application. Can't wait.